What will be interesting, which is according to Juliette Kayyem, who has been keeping me informed via text here, is if in that puncture wound, if they're able to find some sort of shrapnel that is still in the puncture wound, and even from the shape of it, how it went in, it will be instructive and instrumental into figuring out what type of device, if the devices that they have found are similar. But I mean, I would imagine 3 or 4 blocks away, they would have to sort of be the same person or at least connected. I want to bring in now CNN's Jean Casarez. Jean is at the scene. Jean, you've been pushed for a little bit further back. What's going on where you are now?
We're not as close as we were, but I can tell you that right behind my right shoulder, about 1 block, is where the initial site is. It is a crime scene. An investigation is going on. This is, as ever, an active scene, as I have seen from the beginning of the evening. Do want to tell you that a Red Cross disaster truck has pulled in right across the street here, right on 23rd Street. They're just sitting here, but they have positioned themselves, and also an EMS activation logistical support unit arrived at the scene some time ago. So everyone is in place. Everyone is just waiting right now. We are still hearing helicopters above us, but wherever this dumpster was, about a block away from me, we don't really know what was surrounding it, but they did say at the press conference that they searched the buildings that were very close to the dumpster. They did not have to evacuate, so we don't know if people were residing right there, if it's office buildings. It's sort of a mixture of retail shops here, some residential, some businesses obviously closed tonight, but the people of New York City are still standing here as close as they can get to that scene because they want some answers too, and everyone is just waiting as law enforcement, our federal partners, state partners continue to be right here evaluating what exactly has happened, and most importantly of all, by whom.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jean.
Jean, thank you for that. Let's go straight to Evan Perez, our justice correspondent, who's been speaking with his law enforcement sources. I mean, the major development, Evan, in the last half an hour is the fact that you and your team have confirmed that they have found this secondary device at West 27th Street, a pressure cooker with colored wiring coming out of it, duct tape, a small dark-colored device attached to the outside, could be a cell phone, could be a timer, and importantly, a piece of paper with writing on it. Any idea what that is? Is that a note? What is that telling authorities?
Right, it's not clear. Certainly, authorities aren't telling us yet what the writing is on this device. And look, I think the reason why we're treating this, and I think the authorities there are treating it with the seriousness that they are, is because it brings us the reminders of what happened in Boston during the Patriot Day, the Boston Marathon bombings that occurred using the same type of device, a pressure cooker. In that case, it was an explosive that was, and they had rigged it to include nails and other projectiles to carry out more carnage, to do more harm. We don't know anything about what's inside this pressure cooker that was found. We've seen an image of it. It appears to be not a very large pressure cooker, and it, as Shimon has been describing on air, it appears to have some kind of duct tape and wires and what appears to be a cell phone. Certainly that's what at least one official described it to be.
And Evan, we have just received an image of that, the image you've seen. Let's pull it up for our viewers so they can see it for the first time. There you have it. Evan, as we're all looking at this together, just walk us through this.
Right, exactly. And what you see
Can you
there,
guys in the
just
control room zoom in on that, or because but go on, Evan. Yeah.
Right. I think the authorities there, the police, the NYPD, were trying. They put a piece of paper so that they could try to give it some scale. Again, my estimate initially was, just from looking at the picture, was that the image there. This is the image we were looking at earlier. That it was, in the neighborhood of 10, quarts or so. But I'm not sure. It's hard to get a scale from this image. But you can see there's a garbage bag, a white simple kitchen garbage bag, that it appears to have been found in, and that's again what the authorities, why immediately they've cordoned this entire area. And as we've shown images on TV there on the okay, there you see a little bit closer. You see the wires coming from the middle of the device. You see that, and the cell phone is sort of attached on the front side there on the side of the device. That's what has been described to us. And again, what we're trying to, I think what the authorities are very mindful of is that this suggests some kind of sophistication. If it does turn out to be a bomb, it takes a little bit more work than someone who just puts together a pipe bomb, and that's again
Right.
what
Well,
we've been
Evan,
dealing with all day today.
Evan, talk to us about that, the level of sophistication to make one of these devices. What does it take?
Right. I mean, we're talking, especially if they're using a cell phone, it's not clear whether they were just using it as a timing device or whether they're using it to try to detonate it with a phone call. Again, these are questions that come immediately to our minds, and we don't know the answer to those questions right now. I think that's what the bomb technicians are going to be examining to make sure to figure out exactly whether this device would have worked if it had detonated, whether or not there was a mistake, something done here. But it's not exactly the same as putting together just a rudimentary pipe bomb. It's you're talking about there's different recipes. You can find them on the internet. Some people are better at them, and they certainly worked in the case of the Boston bombings. In other cases, they have not. In other cases, people have taken shortcuts, and sometimes the timing devices just don't turn out to work, or the explosives. So again, we don't know what's inside this pressure cooker, but it is something that's obviously they want to make sure they preserve as much of it as possible so they can see how it was put together, and they can try to get fingerprints. They can try to put together where the components came from. The pressure cookers, they do a good job
Evan,
right now.
can you stand by, Evan? Something very important that I want to show our viewers. This is an image from the explosion, then we'll get back to you. But again, an image from the explosion.
Wow. All right, Don and I are watching this on the air with you all for the first time.
Can we replay that now? This is a surveillance camera. I would imagine there's no sound, but let's look at that. And you can see people outside running.
Right, this is the first video. It's very significant because this is the first video we've seen of the explosion at West 23rd Street today at 8:40 p.m. We have,
and then there's outside.
Right, there's outside. You see, I mean, look at that. You see people running, obviously, terrified. We heard this explosion was so loud. Some people heard it across the river in Hoboken. We have full team coverage. Our Shimon Porcupez, our CNN Justice.
Let's describe some of this video first. So again, this is from Orange Fitness in Chelsea, and so this is again that what we have here. It's about obviously 5 to 10 seconds of this video. There are two different surveillance videos from this Orange Therapy Fitness. One video shows the explosion outside, as we said. That one is the one from inside. The other one shows the explosion outside. It is not only surveillance video from the fitness center, but it also comes from MSNBC. So again, we need to make that very clear here. So there's a surveillance video, which is fair use because this is going to be useful in the investigation as well. Again, this video coming from Orange Therapy Fitness from Chelsea, fair use also from another news affiliate, MSNBC. Again, this shows the inside, and then it shows the outside, and you can see it there, which appears to shadow the window. And as you look from the inside out, you can see people running and trying to figure out exactly what's happening. And then as it goes, as we go to the outside video, people are scattering. As it goes to the outside video, there you can see it.
And as we look at this, let's bring in Matthew Horace. He's with us here on set in New York, law enforcement analyst for us. Also, you're a retired ATF agent. You specialized in managing firearms and also explosives investigation. So as you watch this video with us for the first time, what do you see? What does it tell you?
Well, there's always going to be a certain measure of chaos whenever these things happen. But as you see what happened tonight, you had that one incident. And our major concern when things like this happening is if there's a secondary or tertiary incident. And it would appear that at the very least, we have a secondary incident. We won't be able to tell for some time the types of explosive that may have been used, if there was shrapnel or not, and sort of get a sense for what kind of device it was. But this is a good early start, and investigators will be working with CCTV camera as evidence in this case.
All right. I want you to stand by, Matthew. Stand by, everyone, again, as we look at this video. This is a surveillance video that we have from Orange Theory, I should say, Fitness in Chelsea. The outside, as after the explosion happened, and the inside as the explosion happened. Again, this is from them, and it's also, we're fair using it from MSNBC because no doubt this is part of the story and part of the investigation. We'll be back in just moments with our live coverage of the explosion in Manhattan.
This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, welcome back. Poppy Harlow here with Don Lemon. We are continuing to follow the breaking news out of New York, where an explosion has taken place, 29 people injured. And now, in the last hour, a secondary device has been located. Let's go through the explosion first. You're looking at the first video we have all seen coming to us from MSNBC of the explosion at 8:40 p.m. tonight. This video coming from across the street from where the explosion took place. So
it's really the reverberation of the explosion, yeah.
Exactly, and the people running from it. And then let's also show you the secondary device that was just found, not detonated, a pressure cooker. There you have it, found just 4 blocks away at West 27th Street by the authorities. We have a lot to get through. Let's bring in our crime and
justice.
Let's
describe this as they're looking, since this is up on the screen. So the explosion that you saw, at least the reverberation from the explosion, that was the one that was on 23rd Street at 6th Avenue that happened at 8:40. So this device that you're looking at now was found about 4 blocks away at 27th Street between 6th and 7th. Since they found this particular device, Richard Quest has told us that they had moved people back. They started moving people out of the neighborhood. They even moved Richard back live on the air. Also got an alert telling people who live in the neighborhood on 27th Street and the surrounding area to stay away from their windows, and that this suspicious device, until this suspicious device was moved, it has to be removed from the neighborhood. So the device that they found here appears to be a pressure cooker. If you look at it, it looks pretty much like a pressure cooker to me. Dark colored wiring coming out of the top center of the device and connected by silver duct tape to a small dark colored device attached to the outside of the pressure cooker. And that's according to multiple local and federal law enforcement officials. None of them would say at this point of what was inside the pressure cooker. Before we get to our Evan Perez and whatever, I want Juliette Kayyem to look at this and Matthew Horace to look at this. This is their expertise. This is what they do. So as you were looking, we saw the percussion explosion or the reverberation. As you look at this, first to Juliette Kayyem, you're looking at this device. It's got wires coming out of it. What does this say to you about who may have done this, how it was done, the sophistication of it, and how this all was put together? Juliette first, and then Matthew.
Right. So just to repeat, actually, what Evan already reported, this device is somewhere in between, just some explosive device that people could put together in their kitchen and an IED. It's not unsophisticated, but it's not something that would narrow down for me as someone worried about Homeland Security. It's not going to narrow down the pool of people who could make this, right? It's going to be still a large group of people. So without pictures, physical evidence, as I was saying earlier, is there evidence on the bodies of those now in jail and in the hospitals in terms of Sharpnel? All of those are going to have to be investigated. So unfortunately, this does not dare. This image alone tells me 2 things. This is purposeful. These things don't just get made. There is discussion of some writing. Obviously, everyone's very curious about that. What does it say? What language is it in? And other issues that we will be focused on and reporters will be looking into. But third, unfortunately, it doesn't narrow down anything. And that's the challenge about that NYPD is facing today is in a world of soft targets and the capacity to build makeshift weaponry, let alone weaponry that already exists. They have to go on other types of evidence. I just want to add one more thing quickly. You're looking also, this is because it was not detonated, there might be fingerprints, there might be proof of purchase, there might be other things that could lead the investigation. And NYPD is a very sophisticated police department with a very strong counterterrorism unit. I have high confidence that that's being done now.
So Matthew Horace, join us here because you are not only a law enforcement analyst for us, but you were formerly with the ATF. Explosives is your expertise. Talk to us about the level of sophistication it takes to build something like this pressure cooker and make it into what appears to be something that was meant to detonate. Let's show it again and talk about what it takes to make this.
Well, several things come into mind. Number one, investigators don't take anything for granted when it comes to investigating devices like this, and the sophistication and complexity of improvised explosive devices are only as complicated as the imagination of the bomber. The other thing that comes to mind is this device actually could very well be a hoax device. And we really can't say it's an explosive device until we've taken it apart, identified an explosive element, and classified it as an explosive device.
So here's what I'm hearing from one of my sources who does pretty close to what you said. They can narrow down the bomb maker by pulling latent fingerprints, and any serialized components can be tracked back to the manufacturers and who purchased them.
Well, let me tell you what I've seen throughout my career, Don. Things like fingerprints can be drawn from inside of the pressure cooker or inside of a pipe bomb. The type of wire that's used, the type of explosive powder that may be used, we can trace that stuff right back to the purchasing store, to the selling store, and in many cases use CCTV camera and receipts to drill down as to who may have purchased those materials.
Okay.
All right, Matthew Horst, stay with us. Juliette Kayyem as well. We have full team coverage of this. We're going to get a quick break in, much more on our breaking news of this explosion in the middle of New York City on a busy Saturday night. Don and I will be right back.